Welcome back to another episode of our Regal London Ramadan web series. On today's episode we have a brand new guest, someone who I shared an office with in a previous life, Nicholas Spencer, who is now an associate partner at Knight Frank and is the head of the international new build residential sales. It's a pleasure having you with us today, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me, Fahd. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Please do give our viewers an insight into who Knight Frank is, their office in the Middle East, and also your role within the firm.
So Knight Frank is a global property consultancy. We've got nearly 125 years of history behind us now. Globally, we've got roughly 400, just under 400 offices, and 3 of which of those are in the Middle East, so we've got a pretty strong presence here as well. Our headquarters for the GCC is in Dubai, and then we've got 2 Saudi Arabian offices to back us up as well. So as I say, it's a truly global reach that we offer. My role specifically within that is, as you say, the head of the London International New Homes, which puts me in a fairly privileged position to work with some of the best new build homes in London, and we promote them around the region. So as I say, an excellent opportunity.
No, absolutely an excellent opportunity. And I wanted to ask you, Nick, how have you seen the sentiment for the London property market over the last 12 months from this region?
So, from my perspective, the sentiment has always remained very strong, broadly speaking. The Gulf has always had a strong affinity with the UK market, and London in particular. One thing we have noticed is that obviously transaction levels have subsided since the COVID pandemic gripped us, but demand levels have remained fairly high, and we're just starting to see that turn again when transaction levels come back to us, as the opportunity for travelling into the regions, basically travelling to London, becomes a lot more accessible. So as I say, that demand that we witnessed over the course of the last couple of years that wasn't able to transact is now starting to trickle back in, and we're seeing the flow of business pick up again.
All right, talking about trickling back in, have you seen any noticeable changes in the demographic of buyers from this region? And are you seeing stronger inquiries, sales, offers coming from a particular country in the Middle East?
Yeah, so again, if I rewind by 2 years, I think there was quite a noticeable swing from a high level of interest on the London apartment market, which, you know, buyers took a huge step back, and suddenly with the prospect of having lockdowns imposed on them and having to spend time from home, people working from home, spending a lot more time generally at home, people wanted more value for money, more space for their money, and ultimately outside space as well, if they were going to be stuck at home with children and, you know, family, etc. So the outer London market took a turn for the better. And had a bit of a mini spike, if you like, and it's taken probably a year or so for that to correct itself, and we're seeing that interest now. Surge is probably not the right word, but the London market is definitely coming back with a boom, and ultimately demand and values are now picking up quite nicely again. And I don't want to look too far into the future, but Knight Frank are looking at a 20% uplift in value over the course of the next 5 years or so, which is, from an investment perspective, a very encouraging figure to hit.
In terms of property prices increasing to 20%?
Up to 20%,
okay.
Over the course of the next 5 years. In addition, one trend we are definitely seeing at the moment is that the weight of the inquiries is still leaning by about 80% towards home ownership, with the remaining 20% of our inquiries looking at investing, which is encouraging for signs to come. But as I say, most people are still looking at a product with the view to living in it, ultimately speaking, and the characteristics and lifestyles that come with that. In terms of regional activity, from our perspective, it's the Kuwaiti market, the Saudi Arabian market, and local UAE markets that is keeping us most active on a day-to-day basis at the moment. We're still waiting for the Qatari market to bounce back in its sort of former glory, because as we know, that could be a real powerhouse when it comes to purchasing in London. Bahraini market as well, we're sort of waiting for that to bounce back. But in isolation, we're still getting inquiries from these regions as well.
Mm-hmm. No, fantastic. And then talking about demand, you have taken on the instruction of our brand new development, the Clarendon, based in Watford, and we are having a very successful run together at it. Can you share your insights and feedback on why your investors and buyers are so drawn to the story of Watford and the Clarendon?
We're thrilled to have taken on the Clarendon, and even more thrilled by the level of response that we've got by it. And I think it's sort of hit a real sweet spot in terms of pounds per square foot, the overall price tag that's attributed to development, and I think the proximity to London ultimately. When you put those two on an EDM out to people, it really captures imaginations and engages with people. The first question that people usually ask is which tube line are you on to be at that price point to get into central London that quickly. And there's a whole level of education, as you know, that comes with this project. And you've got to tell them about the overland train going to Houston, and then build the investment case behind it, which fortunately people have been very receptive to. But from a Middle Eastern standpoint, you've got this big 1.5 billion regeneration of Watford that's undergoing. We love a shopping centre out here. Unfortunately, we've got the Atria on our doorstep in Watford, and all the luxury brands that come with that. And then you've got 100,000 square foot of office space that's bolted onto the side of the building, which ultimately underpins that tenant demand. And tenant demand is the cornerstone of any investment. So it's a sort of perfect formula, if you like. And I think that's why it's resonating very well, and the campaigns ultimately do well.
All right. No, thank you for your time, Nick. It's a pleasure having you with us and sharing your insights on the London market and also about the Clarendon. For more information, please do get in touch with us. We are showcasing the Clarendon along with the other developments in our extensive portfolio at the Four Seasons in Jumeirah during the month of Ramadan. So please do pay us a visit then. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for having me, Fahd.